This week we're looking at yet another budgeting app. It's called Weekly, and I'm going to show you how to set up a first-time budget using it. Let's get into it. When you open up the app, it's going to ask you a few questions. One is, where does your regular income come from? For this example, I chose paycheck and put in $1,000 per week. So that adds up to about $52,000 a year net income. It makes it pretty easy for the example. You can also add in other incomes here below by just tapping one of these. So like other income, if you have a side hustle, then you can add something there. Then you click next. Next is housing. I tapped the mortgage button and added $1,000 per month. That's a little low nowadays, but the goal of this is to just get you comfortable with how to set up a budget instead of making a perfectly accurate budget. So bear with me. Next is bills and utilities. You can tap any of these to add in that bill, and you can also add in other customized bills if you'd like to. I added in a power bill for $150, natural gas for $100, internet for $60, cell phone for $40, water bill for $30, and trash for $15. Each of these bills is added in as a monthly expense. And then at the bottom, it gives you a weekly total of $91. That's why it's called weekly. It just gives you a breakdown of what your weekly expenses are going to be. Tap next. Now you can add your loan payments. So you can add student loans, personal loans, credit card, or some other customized loans if you want. For this example, I added $600 a month for student loans and $400 a month for credit card. Next is subscriptions. So you can add in any of these subscriptions or add a customized subscription. I threw in Amazon Prime for $16 a month, Netflix for $10, and Disney Plus for $75 every year. These are actually pretty accurate numbers right here. Next, health, beauty, and fitness. I ended up skipping this one, as well as education and kids. We're just skipping those right now. In donations, we're actually going to add something. I'm always trying to encourage you all to be generous with your money. I know that sometimes it's very difficult with the expenses that you have, or if you're trying to pay off debt or whatever. But I'm always going to encourage people to be generous because I think that helps change your perspective of money in a good way. I added in tithes for $100 a week just to make it easy, which ends up being about 10% of the income. Let's tap next. It's going to ask if you want to join Weekly Pro, which is $8 per month or $48 per year, which is a 50% savings. With it, it allows you to actually sync your bank transactions, which is nice because then transactions can come in through your bank account. If you make a purchase with a debit card or whatever, that transaction gets added, and then you don't have to actually add that transaction manually. You can track your upcoming bills, which just helps to keep you informed on where you're standing with your budget during the month. You can also create funds for building your savings, which I'm going to be honest, I love funds. Syncing funds, my wife and I use syncing funds in our budget all the time. Last time I counted, we had upwards of 40 sinking funds. I'm not even joking. For anything from tires to health savings to dates to our personal spending, and then of course using for things like saving up for the next vehicle purchase. Super helpful. I love funds. And then you can also track your account balances because you can actually connect your weekly account to your banks. So then you can use Weekly to actually see where you're standing with all your accounts. For the time being, I'm just gonna say skip for now. Okay, after putting in all my transactions, then it's going to give me my weekly spending limit, which is $311.30. The way that it comes up with that is by taking my weekly income, which is the $1,000 that we put in, and then subtracting the average weekly expenses, which is something that it's figured out from the whole process of putting in the expenses. Definitely a different way of thinking about your budget in terms of what's your absolute necessary expenses that you're going to have on a weekly or monthly or even yearly basis. And then just looking at what's your safe spending amount per week. That's our $311. And then here at the bottom, it just says that you can use this to pay for daily expenses like groceries, gas, maybe eating out. When we click continue, it's gonna have us pick a day to start our week. So I'm just gonna choose Sunday because it makes the most sense to me. And then we can link accounts if we're subscribed to Weekly Pro. We'll skip that for the moment. Last step, our step 4 is starting our first week. So it's saying that our first week actually started yesterday. This is Monday. And from there, we can add in transactions that we had on Sunday or today. Start week. So we've got the dashboard right here, which shows our whole safe to spend. Now I'm going to go into accounts and actually join Weekly Pro so that we can input some transactions and show you exactly how this works. We can connect to our account using Plaid and connect the accounts. Success. All right, so it shows that I have a checking account. For the heck of it, let's add another account as well. Okay. I've also added Juno now. Now I'm in account summary. We're gonna go back to dashboard. Now here at the top, it's gonna show me new transactions that I have coming in for this week. So we're actually gonna categorize these now. let's go to Apple. This should be a subscription, actually. We're going to hit this as recurring, put this under a new item, and we're going to put it under subscriptions. How often? This is once a month. Great. Confirm. Okay, so we have Apple set up as a recurring expense. We're going to do the same for Hulu. Create recurring. Gonna have to add a new item because I didn't have Hulu in there before. Once every month, subscriptions, create, and confirm. Panera Bread, believe it or not, this is also a subscription for their Sip Club, and create, confirm. Now, Kroger, we made one purchase at Kroger yesterday. That is actually going to be a safe to spend because we don't have a grocery fund in here. They basically use the safe to spend, which is whatever's remaining after the portion that you've allocated for all of your other bills. They recommend using that safe to spend for daily purchases like groceries and gas and other things that might come up. So we're going to put that under safe to spend. Confirm. Now, after we created the Panera Bread, Hulu, and Apple subscriptions, that actually lowered our safe to spend a little bit because those are now monthly recurring transactions. Then when we added Kroger in as a safe to spend transaction, then it reduced it by that $16.26. So now it shows that for the remaining portion of this week, we have $291.99 safe to spend on other grocery transactions, other gas transactions, eating out, whatever. So that's how you can add in transactions if you have the Pro subscription, and it's importing transactions, makes it very easy. All you have to do is categorize those. And if those happen on a recurring basis, then that makes it even easier in the future. Now, if you're finding this video helpful, I would greatly appreciate a like, because that's what helps keep me moving forward and providing content for you guys. You can also add in transactions manually. So let's say we used $5 in cash for a $5 biggie bag from Wendy's. $5, Wendy's, and create. Now it's going to reduce our safe to spend by $5. If we scroll down, we can also see other transactions that we added in when we were setting up the budget. So let's set a transaction date for a few of these so you can see what that looks like. Set next transaction date. So normally mortgage will come out on like the first of the month. Let's say June 1st, 2023. Set transaction date. Cell phone, let's just say that is the 15th of the month. And let's say the water bill comes out at the end of the month. May 31st. You can keep doing this with all the transactions that you have set up. Our next paycheck, since we're saying this is a weekly basis, we're going to get paid on June 2nd, which is a Friday. Yeah, set next transaction date. So then when we scroll up, we can actually see what transactions are coming up in the next 30 days and the transactions that are coming up within the next week. Kind of helpful to just make sure that you're keeping track of where you're at with your budget. Now let's create a fund because I love funds. Let's say vacation. We're gonna contribute $200 every month. Starting balance, we'll say 0. Create. Now something to keep in mind is whenever you add a fund where you're saving into it regularly, that's also going to reduce your safe to spend. So this is showing that since we put in that we're going to save $200 a month for vacations, then that is $46.03 per week. So it's going to reduce our allowable safe to spend budget by $46.03 per week. Let's add another fund actually. For saving for a car. Let's save $100 a month, not a week. And let's say we've got $1,000 already. So one thing that I noticed about these funds is you can't actually create like a goal for the fund, which is kind of interesting. You can lock the fund, so it's not actually saving that amount for whatever period of time that you decide. Let's unlock it. But it doesn't allow you to create a goal, which is interesting. Okay, let's go back. So this is showing that for these two funds that we have, our weekly contribution is going to be $69. Let's go back. All right, so we've got our fund set up. Let's go down. Now this is going to show us our account summary, which kind of helps give us a feeling for where we're at financially, at least balance-wise. It'll give us a full breakdown of the accounts that we have connected to this. So if you have the Pro subscription, then you can link up all of your bank accounts and it'll give you a full balance preview. Then if we scroll down, we can actually see our cash over time, which is kind of cool because you can tap on any of these days and it'll take the projected expense that you've already put in, or say if you get some income, it'll add that in there and just show you kind of where your balance is at or where it should be in the future based on transactions and expenses that you have planned. All right, if we tap the 3 bars on the upper left and tap budget, it shows us our income as well as recurring expenses. From here, you can go through, look at the different transactions that you have planned for. You can also tap this plus sign here and add in other budget items. So we've already added some in, but if there's a transaction that you have that you didn't actually plan for originally, then you can add it in here. Let's tap the 3 bars again here. If you go to funds, we've already added those funds in. You can also go to accounts and add in accounts or delete accounts if you'd like. And if you tap here, you can see your account. Easy to manage your subscription, add email login, those kinds of things. The last thing to go over is this button up here, shows the current week. I believe as time progresses and you have multiple weeks under your belt, this is where you go if you want to go back to a previous week to see what you spent on certain items, or to modify things if you're getting to the end of your month and you're trying to finish out your budget. I actually like this app a lot overall. I think it's pretty simple. It's very clean in how it's set up. There aren't too many buttons or things to get confused with. And I think that some people get a little overwhelmed by a monthly budget. So something like this where it's down to the week, it actually might help you focus a little bit more on what you have to spend. Because it's much easier to focus on that $217 that you still have left that's safe to spend for the rest of the week, instead of like $800 or $900 that you have left to spend for the entire month. Personally, I think this makes it easier to pace your spending. All that to say, you should definitely give Weekly a shot if you're looking for a budgeting app that's easy and simple to use. Now you can subscribe here for more fintech reviews. Watch this next if you'd like to see me compare a bunch of different budgeting apps. And watch this next if you'd like to see me compare the best cashback debit cards.